All right. We're going to start recording and streaming. Then we'll make sure everything's all hunky dory, and then we can rock and roll. Yeah, I'm using the right microphone, using the right camera. Adam's looking sensational in his Calvin Klein t-shirt. Feeling good, man? Should we rock?
Let's do it, man. Let's crush.
Welcome back to the Coaches to the Moon podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're getting up with Mr. Adam McCaughey, from working in some of the best kitchens in the world to the homes of now company agency Ninja. Adam's lived an incredibly diverse and interesting life, and I cannot wait to have it out with him today. Figure out what makes him tick. So straight out of Sydney, Adam, how are you, mate?
Thank you very well, man. Thank you for your time and thank you for your energy on this podcast.
Well, I've just finished my third coffee for the day.
Beautiful, man.
I'm fasting up until lunchtime most days. Yesterday I did till dinner time, so I'm a bit low on
Wow.
calories, a bit high on caffeine probably. So I'm feeling
It's
feeling
gonna be
good for the next
a wicked call.
19 minutes until everything goes a bit shaky. So anyway, dude. So anyone listening, Adam and I work together, which is great. Adam's company is an incredible sales agency, and they basically help coaches, busy people like me, and like you listening to speak to your leads, come up with a process that nurtures your leads and then turns them into a converted and very excited client for you and your business. So, Adam, we're going to talk about sales today for sure
Sure.
in the coaching realm where you thrive. But we share a commonality outside of our haircuts and our good looks in that we both started off in kitchens and yourself at a much higher caliber to me. You've worked with some of the best chefs in the whole world. Can you just rattle off a few names for me of the kitchens you've worked in and the chefs
Yeah,
you've
of
worked
course,
with?
man. Yeah, of course. So I worked so I'm 27 now. So when I was 17, I was working at a restaurant called Rockpool, which was obviously a guy called Neil Perry, probably the most renowned chefs in Australia, which was pretty epic at the time. Stayed on from working, obviously going to school and then working at a restaurant, three-headed and dollars or $400 a meal, which is insane. And then I started working at restaurants like Attica in Melbourne, and then I was founded with working at Nome, which is probably actually the best restaurant in the world at the time.
That was
And
number one for a while. Hey,
number one, yeah. And then what I did after that, I started to create my own private chef business. So I started to network with some really high profile people, kind of actually working with a family that was the fifth richest family at the time, were $1 billion, which is insane.
yeah,
And there's actually when
wow.
they bought the yacht is a year. So that's a pretty cool experience.
I love that, man. I want to get into that in a second. I've seen photos of you, yeah, with Rene Redzepi from Noma, with Grant Achatz at Alinea, with
Yeah.
Heston Blumenthal, a lot of these big names, right? These guys, they create massive success, not just because of their cooking skills, but lots of other factors as well. From all the top chefs that you've worked with,
So for me, the leader, and I loved working with Renee in that was in his restaurant called Noma. The is, I think if you specialize in something enough and you've put focus into one thing, you become the best at doing it. And I think the reason I love working with him was his own set of values. It doesn't matter what position you are. It doesn't matter who you are to the company. He would always come and say, people start to develop an ego in business restaurant. There's something like a lot about the people that are working for them. They don't appreciate it. So he appreciated about every single person that worked for him. He had a lot of like gratitude as well. But most importantly, he would stay awake like for days thinking about a recipe. He think, and it's such a crucial skill to have in business, in restaurants, in food, in life. Most people give up at something because it's a bit difficult. That person never gave up, and that's obviously why it's the best restaurant in the world.
yeah, 100%, man. I see that in him. I've read his book, got his book on the shelf over there.
Super.
Has an obsessive love of what he
Mm,
does. He's got these journals that he keeps. He's doing stuff that just makes his life so difficult, like
mm,
using seasonal produce in a country that snows half the year.
mm.
So it's really impressive to see anyone in business follow dreams like that and just overcome hardships because of their values. I think what you said about the head of this huge company, proper celebrity chef, best in the world at the time, still coming around and saying hello to, you know,
Yeah.
all sort of thing. Sydney, which is a guy called Bill Dracopoulos, and he owns like half the restaurants in Sydney. This guy, I worked at his flagship restaurant called Liquid Dining, which was like a dining restaurant and he'd rock up in one, and he would know the name of every dishwasher, you know, in the kitchen, every waiter. I personally got into like an argument with a customer once. I was trying to do my job and read me in front of my colleagues. And
Wow.
Bill, this multi-millionaire entrepreneur, sat me down the next day, called me in for a meeting, and apologized to me that happened in his restaurant, which I thought was so cool. I thought I was going to get told off,
Wow.
and he came and said, "Sorry, you know, I'm sorry I wasn't there to defend you." And I was everything that was going on. So I love that, man. And
Funny, when I was working at Noma, I remember this exact event. So what happened is, it's a really cool experience. So if before you spend, $1,000 just on food, it's mind blowing. They can create such amazing food. The creativity is incredible. And one day specifically, so whenever a guest comes into a restaurant, every staff member has to run to the front of the restaurant and walk in. So basically, Renee would clap, a table or two coming in, everyone stops what they're doing, they sprint to the door and welcome them in. They dish every kitchen hand, every chef, every waitress, the maitre d', everyone does it. So when they come in, it's a full-on experience. So one day, I didn't smile. I was just very stressed because it's an extremely stressful environment. You're in a high pressure the whole day. It's next level. And I didn't smile and I didn't say hello to the guest. And then it's incredible because Renee saw that and he pulled me aside and saying that he was saying thank you. So screaming at me, saying to respect everyone. Don't ruin this for us. Don't ruin this for me. Like getting meeting at the time, which actually the rest of the day. It was insane. I could not get it out of my head. And then looking back at it now as that experience, it's amazing because even at the highest level that he's at, every single detail has to be perfect. Every single person plays their part. And it's the same thing in business as well. I think it's important that every single person plays their part. No one cares because, as they say, like a fish rots from the head, right? So if the owner of the company isn't really respectful of the people, he doesn't put the passion into it, everyone's going to follow that. It's very easy to tell a company culture the company leader. And if you look at someone mind blowing. So that for me, it taught me that principle, which has really led me into everything I'm doing today, which is pretty cool.
100%. Having those super high standards, and letting people know that you're the boss and they have to follow your standards is one half, and then being the friendly guy who says hello to everyone is the other half. If you do too
Yeah,
much of one or the other, then it's a terrible place to work because too friendly,
100%.
people walk over you. They're not fulfilled at work. They don't learn. The other way around, people just leave because they're scared of you. So
Yeah.
that's really, really cool, man. I know that we've both got teams now, and I'd love to get into that in a minute. Just for one final segue from cooking to business, do you think that spending time around these super wealthy billionaire families and seeing the way they live, kind of give a kick towards business?
Hmm. I think it gave me three things actually. So the first thing that it gave me is showing that money is really not everything. I think it's important
Mm-hmm.
money is a high value so that you're chasing money because it's definitely chasing growth in your business. It's what money can give you in life. It's what money can give you in experiences, in people, family, partner, fiance, wife, whatever it looks like for you. So it can actually give you more. In a lot that level, in Fiji, when I was living there for 6 to 8 months before, I feel that actually they've got everything they want. They have a yacht with a helicopter. They have a full blown like it's crazy. They would own islands and stuff in Fiji. Like it's next level. But which makes you think, what are you actually doing this for, and what is your purpose? To align your purpose with your business. So I that because they'll go through experience what they want or what they don't want. And I think for me, looking at those things, really what I don't want to have. I don't have all this money and be unhappy inside. That's the first thing. The second thing, it teaches you hunger. Like I think house in the same suburb and with the same people every single day and you have the same job, you don't know what you don't know. And it's important to understand that there's a whole other life out there which people have no idea that exists. Like I'm telling you, I was literally living there was all these jobs next to us. People that, were the of Microsoft, people that were found as the biggest driller is in Australia, people that invented one of the biggest things we all use today. And they're all on their yachts with helicopters with 100 people working for them at their disposal, which makes you really think, not that I want that, but we don't know what we don't know. So it's important for to be around a lot of people to start exploring. And most importantly, the family that I was working for, this is probably the biggest lesson. The family that I was working for, the owner, as high as he has a team of like 1,000 people, offices all around Australia. One of the most reputable, highest income one of the families in Australia. He had no ego. So even at that high level, to ask like myself, who was just the chef and personal trainer at the time, to ask me for advice or to ask me suggestion, whether it was around food or anything, it just made me think, it's incredible to feel that people, even at their high status, they still ask questions. So I think it's important, as Elon Musk says as well, never stop asking, never stop learning. It's the Tony Robbins thing as well. Never stop learning, never stop growing, and never get to the point where you have such an ego in your business, in your life, thinking you're the best, because you're really not. And even if you were, you can still learn a lot more. But as soon as you close it off in your mind, thinking, I don't want to learn anything else, you're going to stop learning, and then you're going to stop actually growing as well in whatever skill you want to grow in. So they're the three main things I took from working with those type of families.
Wow, Adam McCaughey. We'll end the podcast there. We can't beat that. What a great answer, man. What
Thanks,
such
brother.
beautiful things, so much to unpack there. But I think the first one is something that we'll both resonate with massively in that we both, I mean, I've got a young family. You are engaged to your beautiful fiance, Gabriella. You've obviously got family values as well. I know you had her family of gaze for them. Like you're a wet mother in funny way. Um, Once again, too far be troubling, but that use health wealth is really, really important. The third one about having no ego, I think this is something that happens in the coaching space a fair bit, right? People get a few followers, they make a few $1,000s a month, they start to think they're the shit.
Mm,
They kind of stop learning and they start just thinking that they are the person everyone else needs to learn from. They get kind of
yeah.
social media guru syndrome, which is an
Mm,
interesting one. But you yourself, I know you're always investing, and I'm always learning.
yeah.
People I learn from, they're always learning. So anyone who is Adam here is a test to the, the more you keep learning, the better you get. Even away from all the skills, the ability to, you could have stock pool, worked your way up, bigger salary, like that, working for like that consistent, drive to learn and make yourself uncomfortable has made you very successful. So, well done to you, man. Well done to you.
Thanks, bro. Likewise, man.
Let's talk about sales. Your sales agency, sales incubator, sales mastermind, sales training company, everything you do, AgencyNinja. Just introduce us to what you do firstly for some context.
Okay, cool. So when I was working as a chef, and even before that as well, I really realized my selling. I love the thought of actually helping someone stuck and becoming unstuck. And I love being that person's change in their life. Like I've had role models in my life that have changed my life because of that one call that really shifted me in a whole new direction. And that ability to influence someone to do that has always been a mind-blowing thing for me that I want to perfect in my ability. So for what I do at the moment, I just of coaching things that I'm doing right now. I've got an agency, doing sales for different like companies and really growing that organically and through paid, and just focusing on being able to like it all comes down to the belief of the program as well. Like the programs that I
Mm.
do work with, they've got an offer that will actually change someone's life. They will actually change a business's life. If they didn't do it, then you can't sell for that. You need to have conviction in what you're selling. You need to have belief in what you're selling. So basically from now, like I've got a team, I'm working doing coaching and I'm doing sales for different offers to help those businesses grow. Therefore, they can help more people grow their business as well. It's a collaborative thing. You know, if you shine a light bright enough, you're going to obviously pierce a lot of darkness. And I think there's too much bad in the world right now. I think if you have good companies, great companies that are doing a positive impact in the world, it's such a great thing to be behind that, with the ability that I have when it comes to sales.
Aren't they've got love for the world,
Do
which
my
is awesome.
affirmations in the morning, man. I'm joking.
Yeah?
I used to do it. No, not anymore.
No. Do you do much back into sales, obviously, but on that, do you still do much, personal development stuff throughout the day? I know you we met at the NLP trainings, which is very,
Oh,
very,
yeah.
confronting. Do you still take away any practices that you do on a daily basis to keep yourself
Mm.
growing in that area?
Yeah, so I used to be honest, I used to do a lot of those like the biggest thing that I've done that's helped me a lot in my life in the last 2 years is removing what's actually behind me, like removing traumas, going in depth with like if you want to call it shadow work and see what's actually stopping me, not so much pulling me forward, and removing limiting beliefs and not so much limiting beliefs, limiting experience in life that's happened to you as a trauma. I think that's a lot more powerful because I've done a lot of stuff and it's helped me in a great way. But combining them both together, like seeing what's behind you and what's going forward, because if you've got so much trauma in your life, like everyone really does in some degree, and you
Mm.
keep focusing on looking in the mirror and saying, I'm enough, I'm great, it's not going to really help it. It's not going to really help you transform into that next person of yourself. But when you start cutting all that stuff that doesn't serve you anymore to help you move forward, catapult you forward, that's what's going to help you get lasting change. But if it's not lasting, it's not worth it, and it's not long term. So I do a lot of stuff around sales. I think energy flow for me in the day is really important. I try not go in. I really do try to stay positive and focused is key, because if you're on calls, if you're on sales calls, if you talk clients, if you're coaching, if you're shifting to serve the client enough, you're not going to be able to serve the person you're getting into the program. You're not going to be able to serve the person whose life is there, and that's the effect of you. Like if you're not in your best form, then you're not going to be able to help them break through. And if they're not breaking through, then what's the point of that? That's your role. That's your responsibility. Being bad coffee. What's the point? You know,
Mm.
that's what I think. I really think energy flow and consistency in your day with your own habits and yourself. That's what's going to really help you in sales.
Yeah, awesome. I think I'll get your take on something uh, talking with. I think a lot of go through situations. So, uh, 4.5 years now, and
Wow,
so
congrats.
around married in 2018, I believe. So, sorry, I'm confident that Ali, if you're watching and listening, I know exactly when our anniversary is. So
When is it? If
we
she's watching.
we got married on May the 19th,
Very good.
2018. It was the same day that Harry and Meghan got married.
Beautiful, man. That's
Like
a good
Prince
thing.
Harry. Yeah,
They
yeah.
copied you, huh?
Well, I dare say ours was organized first and more anticipated. So before that, I was running a health coaching business, and my sales process was, quite standard. I would talk to people who would come through Facebook ads, move them into some work on products around sales. The way you learn your stuff, and it was fun, mostly your mother and your wife. Mostly questions and like little baby we wanted for wedding favors were not available. All the cupcake wrong color, nonsense, all these different ways. Started to do sales calls, really very good at. I wasn't just not deals, I was getting hung up on, for the first time, getting into my clothes, hanging up the phone on me, and stress that was my life was bubbling through my tone and my energy. People could sense some sort of inspiration or negativity, and I was getting hung up on, two for the first time in like 2 years. Question, Adam McCaughey. Plenty of people early in business a lot of stress when their business get on the line. When we are doing sales, like you said, positive energy is very, very important. So let's say someone's having a really rough day, but they've got a very important sales opportunity coming up to get back mindset to service the client on that call.
Okay, cool. Before every call, if it's a Zoom or it's a phone call, what I do, I do it a lot. I don't do it often as I should because I don't need to anymore. It's a really good practice and implement. So, firstly, give yourself like a few minutes before each call because you could have stresses from the day, like you're just mentioning, something could happen or something could be happening in your life, and you just all these energies going everywhere, like you're stressed, anxious, something's happened in something direction, work, career, whatever it is, relationships. So it's really good to spend about 2 to 3 minutes before every single call. Prime yourself, as Tony Robbins does with priming. It's a really great technique he does at his events. I just before the call. So it's just like bringing your energy down, taking big deep breaths in, and visualizing the outcome of the call. So what I do, I usually just visualize and feel the best thing that will happen on that call. I visualize myself making great. I feel myself visualizing that person feeling great and really helping them change their life. I feel like I always say to myself, like whatever objection they give, whatever they I'm gonna get through absolutely everything because my mission is to serve them at the highest level. Because if you make sales about you, you're not gonna close. If you think about wanting to get the sale, attach the outcome. You need to attach the outcome of the sale because no one likes to have a salesperson or a person selling to them when they feel like they need it more than them. It's about them. If you make sales about them, it's gonna really help you with your conversion rate if you have the skill sets as well. So I would always just bring my energy down to a good flow before the call. I'll get
Mm.
really embodied in like helping that person see the outcome, feeling really great. And I may even say to them, I may even say to myself, it's the call is just finished, like future pacing. The call is just finished. I've just had a great half an hour call with this person. He gave me some objections, but that's okay. I got through and it's changed his life and he's gonna have the next months in this doing whatever it is, and his business is gonna be better, life's gonna be better, and that's gonna help the person. And then all of a sudden, you don't give up on them because in a sales call, if you give up on them, they will give up on themselves. I think it's important. The reason I'm so persistent with a lot of things is because I don't give up on the person. If you've heard any of my calls, I'd never give up. I really don't because as a salesperson gives up on the person, um, again with the wrong skill sets, with not knowing how to move the conversation, influence, use different tactics, different like embodiments, different like metaphors and all this type of stuff to get them back into that buying gen. That's a whole nother topic. But when it comes to the mindset, if you don't give up on them, they're not going to give up on themselves. That's really important. It's like if you're going through a tough time, if the same person's going to keep being there for you, helping you, that's what you're going to remember. And that's what's going to help you get through. So you want to be that person for someone else. So that's the way I shift myself on sales calls. It's a really important thing to embody if you're new to sales, or if you're not new and your conversion rate's not as high as it should be.
They won't be themselves. I love that. Love that. I have been those conversations in my sales career, especially in the health and fitness space, where you're talking to someone where they're really truly fucked. They're really in the shit if they don't do anything about it. Because
Yeah,
they're
of
told about
course.
their lifestyle, and if they don't fix it, they're in real trouble. And one of
Yeah.
my coaches back in the day gave me advice that was quite similar to what you just said. He said that it's very, very scary to hop on the phone and call your leads or to, like you just said, be persistent with helping this person to, come over the line. And at the beginning of the call, you said you've got to believe in what you're selling and be authentic and know that it can actually help this person. So I 100% believe in being persistent when you know it can help them. Um, the old pushy
Yeah.
salesperson, Jordan Belfort selling shitty stocks style. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about pulling someone over the line, helping them rather than pushing them. And what my old coach said, he's like, if you just envision that all of your leads, all of your clients, they're you picture them sitting at home on the couch, just lost, you know, whether it's got no idea. Once again, having a shitty meal, the mirror thinking, oh, I'm
Mm,
myself. I don't know how I can. and then they call help you with that. You can quietly person who saved or saved their life. So you have a duty to call these people. You have a duty to help these people and do everything you can to help them one way or another. So in terms of, you mentioned objections and persistence, I want to get some really like sort of quick fire answers from you, because the three main objections we all know are money, time, and partner objection. Yeah, I can't afford it. I don't have time. I've got to ask my wife, that sort of thing. Do you feel confident if I gave you some, you know, some money, time, and partner objections, you could help us out to reframe them and help this customer over the line?
I think
Yeah.
the way I do sales is very different. It's not about the objection handle at the end. It's about like removing and disarming the objection before it comes up. So a lot of my selling isn't through just like sales. You have the call, you find the problem, you do a solution, then you do objection handle, and then there's that pressure at the end to then objection handle, close the deal, where the sale actually is made a long time before the objection handling, and that's where you need to understand. Like with the objection handling, you want to probe the person throughout the whole call, all throughout this whole process from lead to then on that sales call to know where they're at already. So then you can use things like metaphors, personal experiences, reframes throughout the call. Like for example, you could if you're an agent, like you have an agency, if someone says to you, if you know for a fact these guys have no time, thanks for time, this company they've got no time, this person in the coaching business they have no time, and we already know that. You can say something like before you get to the sale, you can say, you can say, isn't it crazy? Even after I go through this whole program with some people, actually tell them that it's a done for you marketing solution, they still come back to me time, and they'll say, yeah, that's crazy. And then you kind of that they have the time, so then you can start to do that. Or you can use a metaphor as well, saying, in my coaching, for example, as an example, when I was doing coaching maybe 6 years ago, I was doing all the wrong things. I was trying to find a way to make money. Because most people, it's crazy, a coaching business and they realize there's so much time. Wouldn't you agree to actually build a business? So it makes sense to actually have a marketing agency to help you to release your time. And you can just go into like that. And then you get to the end of it, and then they've actually agreed that, time is what you're going to help them. And then you get to the objection, that time won't be there. Because it's not an objection handle. It's not an objection if it's before the actual objection. It's just they're just agreeing with you. You're getting them in agreement mode. So when you get to it, you want to try to disarm them of everything before that part. So it's just a smooth call. Most of my calls, there's never really an objection. That's the way I sell, because I want to disarm him and get everything out of the way before the end of the call. So it's not that intense pressured call, which usually most of my calls aren't.
No, no. I mean, I've listened to your calls. You're very soft-spoken the whole way through. You're very caring for the person. I feel very trusting and sort of safe if I was one of your leads, one of your prospects, because there's none of that high pressure sales that you might hear from people like Grant Cardone with the closers handbook or whatever it is, like 100 different ways to close a deal all at once. And
yeah. Don't get me wrong though. I use a lot of those techniques. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing. I think you've got a repertoire of techniques. You know how to do technique. I don't know know how to shine. All the right customer. It's important. I mean, you've trained in sales. You've done courses. I know you've done Tony Gordon Belfort trainings and with high-end tangible skill is what makes what do you think is more important, I suppose, in sales, if there is one? Tangibles and, you know, how to close and strategy, or is it the emotional intelligence, or are they as important?
Hmm. I think salespeople, I think the most important thing to start with first is the emotional intelligence, because we're in this industry, stuff or if it's a business, people are quite switched on that, and most sales use the same script from the same teacher, and it's just the same thing. When people actually feel they're connected to, when they feel like they're heard, something like that going through a script. I've never had on any call saying, "Are you reading from the script?" This doesn't happen, but most people think if I read from the script, I personally use a script, so I'm just in flow with people. Heard and to really feel that your solution or their solution helps them from A to Z. So I think emotional intelligence is where it starts, and that comes down to belief in yourself, belief in the program, and the belief in you can actually help the person. Because if you help someone and you don't believe you're doing it, if things, I don't believe I'm doing a good job. Is this person actually listening? The thing I'm reading from the script sounds silly. You know, maybe you have a limiting belief of sales, and oh fuck, I don't want to say this thing. That may say it. I'm not going to say it with conviction. There's not going to be no certainty behind it. I don't actually believe in the program. I'm not going to be certain about the program for me. And more importantly, having that conviction that this is what they need and this is actually going to help them. So I think emotional intelligence is really important. But having that without a skill set, it's not really going to serve to get them from start of the call to close. So I think it's equally combined, and it cannot be one without the other. I think emotional intelligence and that's the ultimate tool belt to actually close a lot more. Most people, I'm telling you right now, they may have a skill set that's one strike. What I've done is I've probably spent about $50,000. I'm actually going to a sales event training with one of us in 2 weeks from now, which is going to be really cool. So I'm always investing in myself with sales, and I've got all these different recipes. I've just like I've been pumped to Google and found the first risotto, and that's all I cook. It's like I've gone through put everything together and I've made it my own and I've made it the best way to sell. That's how I've done it. I don't just stick to Jordan Belfort. I don't just stick to Grant Cardone or all the other trainers I follow. I've done their courses. I made everything my own. And that's why it's different to the market because everyone just expects the same thing, you know? Hey, it's Alex, how you doing today? Like, or you always get trained by different salespeople. So it's about actually your own rhythm, your own cook, your own recipe. Because if you want to be a really great chef, and use that example as well, you want to be different. Most chefs are the same, right? They always have the same experience. But the people that become a year as a chef, they're different, unique. They've had a lot of experience. They've had a lot of different formulas in the past, a lot of recipes stuff to actually get to that level. It's the same thing with sales. You want to learn everything and do your and skill set together that can best serve the person that you're speaking to.
Really, really smart, man. And putting together all your experience into your own unique way that works for you. I think that's really the key to success, like you just said, isn't it? It's you can only get so far as a carbon copy of someone else. But and that's the same in music, in in films, whatever. I mean, if a rapper comes out who sounds just like Eminem, they'll get an album out, but then they're not gonna have the same legacy, you know. But exactly. Everyone else that still hit. So, man, lot of information and knowledge coming. What I can imagine it may sound like to someone who's starting out listening to this is like, okay, Adam, you just said I need to learn all the skills, invest lots of money, and increase my emotional intelligence and experience, and do all these things before I'm really good at sales. Do you think that everyone with a head on their shoulders and a bit of heart can learn to do these things and become a great salesperson?
It depends on,
Sure.
I think the most important thing is getting in the game. If you want to be a chef, what's up? If you want to be a chef, if you get all the education, do the trainings, never work in a kitchen, you're never actually going to get the result, experience and frequency that gives you the anything in life. So even if you're doing high ticket closing or you're working at a job, 80K salesperson, you transition yourself from something like that to get your reps, you know? It's like a gym as well. You want to get your reps to get the result because that's going to help you.
Mm.
You're learning the game. It's important. Most people want to study so long and then they get on the first call and they F it up selling. You know, so you want to get your reps up, your frequency up. I've been on about 12,000 plus sales calls now. It's insane. Even more probably. And I've just put the reps in. I understand how every single call is going to go. Yes, I'm in flow, but I've also got an amazing strategy. But I think it's just being open to learning, getting the reps up, and just going through it as well. And actually ask yourself, why do you actually want to do sales? Like, why is it important for you? Why do you want to increase your sales? You know, what makes you want to sell to people, and what's holding you back from selling? Is it something limiting? Most people have comes to sales as well. Like, what if they know I'm selling to them, or what if it's not going to work for them, or I don't even believe in myself, believe in the product? I think it comes down to firstly having a good reflection into yourself to know why you're actually doing this. And is it coming from a place of lack, like you need their money, or is it coming from a place of you want to transform their life? I think the first step is just understanding that. So having an actual process, you know, learning an actual. I'm still learning today. I always change what I'm doing.
Mm.
I'm always innovating my script and how I sell. No matter, just like having a process as a great actor would do before they movie set, they always rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. I can go through my whole script that I've been using for the last 5 exactly the same because I use it so much in my life. So it's great to rehearse as well. Combine those two together, I think you're going to be okay. But of course, what skill set do I need? What script do I have? And that's obviously why there's people like myself out there to help people that want to jump into this as well.
Yeah, I think that's really encouraging because, as even if I really, really loved basketball, I'm never going to play for the NBA because I'm not, I wasn't born with the ball that
Yeah.
5 foot. I wouldn't get there. Uh, so just saying you'll make it is you don't believe that with sales. You just think that, uh, put in the work, the systems, the programs, and then make it your own time you can get there. Subscribe to
They
the belief that the way you buy is the way your customers will buy from you. As in, if you're a very hesitant person, or if you'll always have money objections, or if you're impulsive, then you will have people buying in the same way from yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that actually. I think everything is a reflection of you. I think it's really important. Like, tough place with money and you, I can't afford that. It's too expensive or something. You're gonna keep the objection of the call, and that's going to turn you off, and that's going to stop them from actually changing their life because you've got this own money belief, and you're going to believe it. Most people they do on calls, they believe. So if you're going through something in yourself, it's a reflection of yourself as well. So when it comes, I think it's important to know your own buying strategy as well. Like, how do you actually buy things? Because if you think about it for a second, it's funny enough, I'm the type of person that won't actually buy in the first call. I will never buy in the first call. And I understand
Mm.
that because I need to have all this information, all this brand awareness, before I jump, before I actually make that decision. So now it's important when before you have that first call with me, for example, someone's getting all this information before that first call, getting all this knowledge, hitting all the objections, understanding all about the program, the service, the business. So when they jump on the call, they can close because that's how I would close as well. You know, in this industry right now, it's they have no information and people are hard selling people into programs all the time. And then you say
Mm.
to yourself, why isn't it working? Why aren't I closing? Because not the close, it's everything leading up to the close as well. It's not just the sales team, it's the marketing as well. Everything's it's unison, everything together. So it's important to understand the whole process, not just the same the perfect objection handles, not the perfect close. You didn't give the option going direct. You didn't give a metaphor here. The whole thing. You gotta understand the buyer journey. Like I just bought a brand new car. Um, and from the whole point of buying the car to then servicing the whole process was so it was insane. That's why they're
Mm.
probably one of the best car companies in the world. I never actually felt like I was purchasing a car. It was actually insane. And I was thinking that for a second. What if every time sale, this is how I think now. What if every time I did a sales call, the person didn't even think they'll buy something? It just makes sense to them. There's no resistance. There's nothing. It's just like I'm gonna pay for it, like they would at one of the shops. But instead, we make it out to be a big decision, and we make it out to be something that, it's not. It's the perfect sales, it's the perfect script. It's a whole thing as a collective. So to answer your question, I think it's important strategy that you have and what's from buying things as well. So it really is, if you're not funnel hacking, start going to like lots of coaches randomly, maybe something that you're interested in, maybe other coaches or maybe consultants or programs or e-commerce for into another program, start applying, start having phone calls, comes up for you. Notice what's going on for you, because most people don't even apply to do other programs, so they actually know how they are like inside anyway. They have the awareness of that. So start being more aware to yourself in the buying journey, not just a seller and also a buyer. That's going to help. The example I just gave with buying my car.
Really, really great advice. And I think, early in business will get that. They have gotten used to invest much, especially in this space where you're always talking $1,000 here and there. They attract people who aren't used to it, and then that person says, "I don't have the money for that." They're like, "Okay, fair enough, no worries. Best of luck with it." However, when
they believe it,
exactly, yeah, and then I think the way it was framed to me best is that if you don't sell them, they'll sell you on the fact that they can't do it, that sort of thing. And where a lot of the time
100%.
they probably can. Yeah, dude, it's been amazing.
And just on that as
busy boy. Yeah, please.
Just on that as well. Sales isn't one thing. There is so sales. There's so many different things that you need to know, that you need to implement. Like being in yourself, believing the product, objection. There's not just one objection. It's not the perfect script. People are trying to find, even with marketing agency, people are trying to find the next best, the best thing to actually help them just change their whole life. With sales, there's probably like 100, 200, 500 plus things you need to learn and embody in yourself when it comes to emotional intelligence and become an advisor on the phone for your own business as well. So just go to the gym, do bicep curls, and expect to be fit for life. Sales is an ongoing learning thing, and you want to have this as a career. And if you want to have it as a career, you can spend 15, 20K a week, a month in this industry if you really wanted to step into it. It just takes time, persistence, commitment, and energy to fulfill dreams as well.
Persistence is the name of the game, hey guys. Whether it's across or with me, we'll have when Sales Academy is live and taking students. We're very excited for everything you're doing. I'm really thrilled to be mates with you and to be working with you. And also, I work with your fiance Gabby as well, who is a sensational person. And you're both very lucky to have each other. So thank you so much for being here today, mate.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate your time, Ali.
Anyone watching or listening live, we love you for that. Thank you so much. Many other things you could be doing today, but you decided to come here. I'll be back next week with some excellent on the Coaches to the Moon podcast. And thank you for listening. Much love. Peace.